Hey everyone, Raya here. Have you ever felt traveling used to be easier and now somehow everything at the airport costs extra? You're not imagining it. In this video, we're exposing some of the airport and airline tricks passengers deal with every single day, from sneaky fees and confusing booking tactics to the little psychological tricks designed to make you spend more money without even realizing it. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love to travel. Honestly, I think travel is one of the best things you can spend money on because experiences matter. Seeing the world changes you, gives you perspective, creates memories you never forget. But the reality is, the travel industry has changed a lot over the years. If you don't understand how airlines and airports operate today, it's incredibly easy to overspend, get frustrated, or feel completely exhausted before your vacation even starts. The good news? Once you understand how these systems work, you can travel smarter, avoid unnecessary stress, and keep a lot more money in your pocket. And some of these tricks honestly surprise people when they first hear about them. So before your next trip, watch this video all the way through because these airport and airline secrets may completely change how you travel. And if you enjoy luxury travel trips, smarter travel strategies, destination inspiration, practical ways to travel better without wasting money, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. All right, let's get into it. Trick number 1. Basic economy isn't really a deal. One of the biggest tricks airlines use today is making passengers think they're getting a great deal when they're actually giving up flexibility, comfort, and sometimes even money in the long run. And the biggest example of this, basic economy flights. Now, when people search flights online, the cheapest number immediately grabs attention. That's exactly what the airlines want, because psychologically, most people focus on the first price they see. But what many travelers don't realize is that basic economy often comes with restrictions that can create major headaches later. Depending on the airline, basic economy may include no seat selection, no carry-on bags, boarding last, no changes allowed, no upgrades, no mileage benefits, higher change penalties. And here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes after you add baggage fees, seat selection fees, and flexibility upgrades, the ticket ends up costing more as the same regular economy anyway. I've seen travelers save maybe $40 up front, only to spend an additional $120 later because they didn't realize what was included. And for upscale travelers especially, this matters because comfort, timing, and convenience are part of the experience. If you're taking a short weekend trip and traveling extremely light, basic economy may work. But if you're doing international travel, family travel, luxury travel, or longer vacation, you really need to understand what you're giving up for clicking on the cheapest fare. One thing I always tell clients is this: don't just compare prices, compare value, because the cheapest flight is not always the best flight. Trick number 2, airlines want you to panic book. Have you ever searched for a flight and suddenly saw messages like, only 2 seats left, 17 people are viewing this flight, prices may increase soon? That's not an accident. That's urgency marketing. Now, sometimes inventory really is limited, but airlines and booking platforms also use psychological pressure to push passengers into booking faster before they've compared options. It creates fear of missing out. And honestly, it works. People panic, book flights all the time because they're afraid prices will suddenly jump by hundreds of dollars. Now, here's the reality. Airline pricing is dynamic. Prices absolutely can change, but many travelers make emotional decisions too quickly because they feel pressured by countdown timers and scarcity warnings. One thing experienced travelers often do differently is they take a step back first. They compare nearby airports, different travel days, Early morning versus evening flights, one-way combinations, alternative airlines, layover options, and sometimes those small adjustments save hundreds of dollars. I've personally seen flights drop dramatically simply by leaving one day earlier or flying from a nearby airport. This is especially true in Florida, where travelers may have options between Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and even Orlando. A little flexibility can make a huge difference. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons many people eventually work with a good travel advisor, because experienced travel professionals know where the pricing traps usually are. Trick number 3, the airport is designed to make you spend money. This one becomes very obvious once you start paying attention. Airports are not just transportation hubs anymore, they're shopping environments. Everything about modern airport design is intentionally created to maximize spending. And honestly, some airports are incredibly sophisticated about it. Notice how duty-free stores are positioned directly after security? While walking past retail, luxury displays are front and center. Food smells are pumped into hallways. Essentials like water are expensive. Gate areas keep people sitting near restaurants and shops. Airports know passengers are stressed, distracted, bored, time conscious, emotionally vulnerable, which makes people spend more impulsively. And luxury travelers are actually targeted even more heavily because low upscale passengers are often willing to pay convenience. Now, I'm not saying never enjoy the airport experience. Some lounges, restaurants, and airport experiences are fantastic. But the key is awareness, because once you realize the environment is designed to encourage spending, you become more intentional. One thing I personally recommend: bring your own water bottle, snacks, chargers, headphones, travel essentials, because the moment you forget something at the airport, you're paying premium prices. Trick number 4, baggage fees are a massive revenue machine. Airlines used to include checked baggage in most tickets. Now, baggage fees are one of the largest profit centers in the airline industry. And the system is designed in a way that catches passengers off guard constantly, especially infrequent travelers. Here's what airlines count on: people not checking baggage policies carefully, passengers overpacking, last-minute airport check-ins, carry-ons exceeding size limits, weight violations, and suddenly the cheap ticket becomes much more expensive. One of the most common mistakes people make is assuming all airlines have the same baggage rules. They absolutely do not. International airlines can vary significantly. Budget airlines can be even stricter, and some carriers are becoming increasingly aggressive with carry-on enforcement, especially in Europe. I've seen travelers forced to repack bags at the gate in front of everyone. And that's not exactly how most people want to start a vacation. One thing experienced travelers do very well: they plan baggage strategically. They know weight limits ahead of time, carry-on dimensions, which airlines are stricter, whether upgrades include bags, which credit cards include baggage benefits. Honestly, good packing alone can save hundreds over time, especially for families. Trick number 5, seat selection is now its own business. Remember when choosing a seat used to be included? Not anymore. Today, airlines monetize almost everything: window seats, aisle seats, extra leg room, front rows, priority sections. Even sitting together as a family sometimes costs extra now. And here's the strategy airlines use: they intentionally make the standard seating experience less appealing, so passengers feel pushed toward upgrades. It's upselling psychology. And to be fair, sometimes the upgrades are worth it, especially on long-haul international flights, overnight flights, tall passengers, premium leisure travel. multi-flight itineraries. But airlines are also experts at creating discomfort tiers, meaning the worse the standard experience feels, the more attractive upgrades become. This is why so many travelers today feel exhausted before they even arrive. Seats are tighter, cabins are denser, boarding is slower, and the overall experience often feels more stressful unless you pay more. That's not accidental. Part of the modern airline revenue model. Trick number 6. Boarding groups create the illusion of status. Let's talk about boarding groups for a second, because airlines have turned boarding into a psychological hierarchy. You'll notice priority boarding, group 1, group 2, premium boarding, elite lanes, special access lanes. And while some of these benefits are genuinely useful, they also create something important psychologically: status perception. Airlines know people want convenience, exclusivity, recognition, less waiting, better treatment. So they build entire loyalty systems around those emotions. Now, to be fair, frequent flyer programs can absolutely provide value if used strategically, especially for business travelers or luxury travelers who fly often. But many people overspend chasing points or status tiers they'll barely use, and that's exactly what airlines hope happens. The smartest travelers don't just chase status emotionally, they calculate whether the benefits genuinely justify the spending. Trick number 7. Free travel isn't really free. One of the biggest myths in travel today is the idea of completely free travel. Now, don't get me wrong, points and miles can absolutely create incredible value. Some travelers fly business class intentionally for a fraction of the normal price. Some use hotel points for luxury resorts. Some frequent travelers save thousands every year. But airlines and credit card companies also know something very important. People love the idea of getting something for free, and that emotional excitement causes many travelers to overspend chasing rewards. Here's what often happens. People open too many cards, spend unnecessarily to hit bonuses, carry balances with high interest, book trips they wouldn't normally take, redeem points poorly, ignore blackout dates and restrictions, and suddenly that free trip becomes surprisingly expensive. Now, for smart travelers, points can absolutely be part of a great strategy, but the key is using points intentionally, not emotionally. I always tell people, if you're paying interest on a travel credit card, the airline is probably winning. The best travel reward strategies work when you already spend responsibly, you pay balances off monthly, you understand redemption values, you travel consistently enough to benefit. Otherwise, airlines and banks are simply monetizing your desire for luxury travel, and they're very good at it. Trick number 8. Airport food prices are intentionally high. Okay, let's talk about airport food for a minute, because honestly, sometimes airport pricing feels completely insane. A bottle of water, $6, a sandwich, $18, a basic glass of wine, sometimes $20 or more, depending on the airport. And no, it's not your imagination. Airport vendors operate in highly controlled environments with limited competition, captive audience, high rent costs, time-sensitive customers. They know travelers are hungry, rushed, stressed, delayed, waiting for flights, which means people will often pay almost anything for convenience. And luxury airports especially have leaned heavily into premium dining experiences because travelers increasingly view airports as part of the travel experience itself. Now, some airports genuinely do have excellent restaurants. But if you're trying to avoid overspending unnecessarily, planning ahead matters. One simple strategy experienced travelers use: eat before arriving at the airport whenever possible, or bring protein snacks, small meals, refillable water bottles, especially for domestic flights, because little expenses add up fast when you're traveling frequently. Trick number 9. Travel insurance confusion benefits the industry. Travel insurance is one of the most misunderstood parts of travel, and airlines know most passengers don't fully understand what they're buying. Now, personally, I actually believe travel insurance can be extremely valuable, especially for international trips, luxury vacations, cruises, country, multi-country itineraries, expensive non-refundable bookings, medical protection abroad. The problem is many travelers click the yes on travel protection during checkout without actually reading the coverage details. And not all travel insurance policies are created equal. Some policies only provide minimal trip delay coverage, exclude weather issues, exclude pre-existing conditions, offer very limited medical benefits, require extensive documentation, don't fully reimburse cancellations, and then travelers get frustrated later when claims are denied. One thing professional travel advisors often help clients understand is what type of protection actually makes sense for their specific trip. Because a weekend domestic flight and a luxury African safari require very different levels of protection. And honestly, this is where expert guidance becomes extremely valuable because things go wrong internationally. They can go very wrong financially. Trick number 10, airlines overbook flights on purpose. This surprises many travelers the first time they hear it. Yes, airlines intentionally overbook flights, and they do it because statistically, they know some passengers won't show up. From a business perspective, it makes sense. Empty seats lose money, so airlines use algorithms to predict no-show behavior and maximize profitability. But when too many passengers actually do show up, that's when you see gate agent negotiations, travel vouchers, volunteer requests, delayed boarding chaos, and occasionally passengers being denied boarding entirely. Now, airlines are legally required to compensate passengers for certain situations, but many travelers don't fully understand their rates, especially international, where rules differ significantly. One important thing experienced travelers know, the earlier you check in, the better your odds usually are during oversold situations. Frequent flyer status can also help, and if you volunteer strategically, sometimes those vouchers become very valuable. I've seen travelers receive free future flights, hotel accommodations, meal vouchers, significant airline credits, simply because the flight was oversold. And while booking can absolutely be frustrating, smart travelers sometimes turn it into an opportunity. Trick number 11, currency exchange counters are often terrible deals. If there's one airport mistake international travelers make constantly, exchanging money at the airport. Airport currency exchange counters often offer some of the worst exchange rates available, and many travelers don't realize how much money they're losing because the math feels confusing in the moment. Here's how they make money. Poor exchange rates, large spreads, service fees, convenience pricing. And because travelers are tired, distracted, or nervous about arriving internationally, they often accept terrible rates without comparing options. Now, sometimes you do need a small amount of local cash immediately, but generally speaking, better options often include using local bank ATMs, travel-friendly credit cards, low foreign transaction fee cards, pre-planned banking strategies. And this becomes especially important on luxury trips where spending totals are larger, because bad exchange rates on expensive vacations can quietly cost hundreds of dollars. Trick number 12, cheap flights often create expensive itineraries. This is one of the most important lessons experienced travelers eventually learn. The cheapest flight is not always the cheapest trip. And honestly, this is where many travelers accidentally create miserable travel experiences. A low airfare may sound amazing initially until you realize the layover is 9 hours, the airport is far from the city, bags cost extra, Seats cost extra. Arrival times are terrible. Hotels become necessary. Transportation costs increase. Vacation time gets wasted. And suddenly, the deal isn't really a deal anymore. This happens constantly with ultra-budget airlines. Now, sometimes budget carriers absolutely make sense, but travelers need to calculate total travel costs, not just airfare, especially upscale travelers, because time matters, energy matters, comfort matters, and honestly, a smoother travel experience often creates dramatically better vacation overall. One thing I've learned over the years is this. Luxury travel is not always about spending more. Sometimes it's simply about making smarter decisions that reduce stress and improve the overall experience. Trick number 13, the biggest airport mistake people make. Now, in everything we've covered, there's one mistake that probably causes more travel stress than almost anything else. People underestimate how complicated modern travel has become. Years ago, travel was simpler. Today, there are entry requirements, visa rules, airline restrictions, health documentation, digital check-ins, baggage policies, loyalty systems, insurance considerations, dynamic pricing, airport changes, currency concerns, and many travelers assume they can figure everything out last minute. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it becomes a complete disaster, especially internationally. I've seen travelers miss flights because of passport rules, arrive without required visas, lose money on non-refundable bookings, book impossible layovers, show up with incorrect baggage, forget travel insurance, misunderstand entry requirements, and honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons many people eventually choose to work with an experienced travel advisor. Because a good advisor is not just booking travel, they're helping reduce friction, avoid mistakes, save time, and create a smoother overall experience. And especially for upscale travelers, time and peace of mind are incredibly valuable. Final thoughts. At the end of the day, airlines and airports are businesses. Their goal is to maximize revenue. That doesn't make them evil. It just means travelers need to be informed. Because once you understand how pricing works, how upselling works, how airport psychology works, and where unnecessary costs usually happen, you travel very differently. Honestly, much more confidently. Travel should feel exciting, not exhausting. And the more you understand the system, the easier it becomes to actually enjoy the journey again. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's the biggest airport or airline trick you've personally experienced while traveling? Drop it down in the comments below because honestly, travelers help each other by sharing real experiences. And if you enjoyed this video and want more smart travel strategies, luxury travel insights, destination guides, practical ways to travel better, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. And if you'd like help planning your next vacation without stress, confusion, or wasted money, feel free to book a call with me using the links below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.